I made a build on the fly for Necrochasm, or any weapon from Crota's End with the Cursed Thrall origin trait for my Warlock, focused around just permanent melee uptime to just have as much fun with the Cursed Thrall trait as possible. I don't have a really good raid weapon yet, so I mean I have a Demolitionist sword logic hand cannon, but I prefer Eidolon Ally over it. I would love to get the solar auto rifle with incandescent, but until then, I'm just going to use Eidolon Ally. Um, I'll talk about this build and show it off, and then afterward, I'll go over how you could pretty much replicate the build on the other two classes. It's way easier on the other two classes. But for Warlock, I made a build to just have constant uptime on my melee with the slide melee from the Lightning Surge. So use whatever grenade you want, preferably one with a short cooldown. Chain Lightning, always, because it's shorter cooldown than Ball Lightning. At least always use Chain Lightning with Lightning Surge. Electrostatic Mine for the Ionic Traces. Spark of Mines and Spark of Shock are always, pretty much put them on every single build for Arc. Spark of Amplitude is somewhat necessary. It helps a lot, at least. And then you don't have to use this. You can kind of use whatever you want here, but why not? Why not have increased reload speed after every melee, since you're going to be doing them constantly? It's focused around Karnstein armlets, just to keep you alive while you're shooting your gun. You could use Winter's Guile if you wanted to just nuke stuff with the melee, but I like Karnstein, they're consistent. Hands-on, a kinetic siphon for Eidolon Ally. The other one doesn't really matter. I guess you could do a harmonic siphon if you want to use an arc weapon. This is absolutely necessary. You need heavy-handed, you need melee kickstart. You can try to hit 100 strength like I did, if it's possible. It helps in case you don't perfectly do the cycle, because there's a very specific cycle to how you keep your melee up. You actually do need both charged up. For once, the chest piece actually matters. Both of these are absolutely necessary as well. This one helps as well. And this is good for just if you, pretty much your grenade and rift, never use them unless you don't have your melee, because they're both set up to just give you your melee back. So the thing is, with Ionic Traces, you pick up 2, you get a stack, and you pick up 2 of them with stacks on stacks, you get 2 stacks. So you combine that with the orbs you're making. Basically, after every slide melee, I get 5 armor charge stacks. Almost every time. Which is kind of ridiculous. I'm not sure exactly how, but I already have 4. But you can see here, if I use my melee, I already have 4 stacks, make that 5 when I pick up that orb. And my melee is almost refunded, now it is. So you can just start going. And then thanks to the fragment in the subclass that gives you orbs from defeating enemies while amplified, you get 2 orbs from the first 2 kills with that Eidolon Ally, unless it's on cooldown. As you can see, it's a pretty simple setup, but it's very consistent. Like I said, it's mainly just made to have fun with the Cursed Thrall weapons, but it also keeps you alive pretty well because of Karnstein armlets. I hope they fix the audio glitch with Eidolon Ally soon. also feel like it could use a bit of a damage bump, but maybe you just gotta hit those precision hits. Like I said, when you don't have your rift, or your melee, just cast your rift or throw your melee out. I can't talk. Cast your rift or use your grenade, and it will pretty much every time top off your melee. You could also use a glaive if you wanted to, just to help you get even more melee kills. Like I said, it's mainly just, it's not going to take you through in-game stuff, but it'll probably do you decent for any raid or anything like that. It's just meant to have fun with the new origin trait. Here you can really see it in action. Not to mention how good the slide melee is. See, I already got my melee back. The slide melee is pretty underrated, honestly. It can destroy whole armies on its own. That's the only issue with this melee. The heal you get from it with Karnstein can be kind of delayed, so you need to watch out. If your health starts getting low, you may be safer off just placing a rift. But as you can see, you can see right here how quickly I get it back, get my melee back, even though it is going to be. Probably be better off using something other than Eidolon, but I don't have a good roll of the weapon yet. Now, we can talk about how you would use this.
Just that you were worried about us, was it, Finch?
Hold on.
Been here.
So, talk about how you could use it on other classes. On Titan, you could use it on Solar with Roaring Flames melees with constant restoration, or you could use it with an Insurmountable Skull Fort with the Thunder Crash, or not, the Thunderclap melee, which I did make a build for already. You could just throw this in to the build and it wouldn't change anything. You could just get explosions when you shoot stuff as well. For Hunters, you could use like a Young Ahamkara Spine build and use the Knife Trick melee, the one where you can refund it if you get a kill with it, and then just also shoot stuff. Or you could use like Combination Blow, Arc Hunter with Assassin's Cowl or Liar's Handshake and just throw this into it. Like I said, it's way easier to set up on the other two classes because they have pretty much constant melee uptime. Whereas Warlock don't really get good melee uptime except on Solar with Heat Rises, and I did not like the feeling of shooting the gun while airborne. It did not feel good, at least for me. You could always try it out. You could also try it on Strand since you get 3 melee charges, but it still isn't as fast as Arc is. So, I'd recommend using this exact mod setup if you want to do it. It's kind of finicky. It seems like if you take even any mods out of this, you don't have the infinite chain, or at least not as consistently. So I'd recommend just keeping it exactly as is. But don't let me tell you how to play your game. Maybe someone can enjoy it though.